Hey guys, another video. Same place, same deal. I'm just out here walking around, having some fun. Something more I wanted to say. Oh, what I'm doing right now at this moment. So there's a camp right there on the other side of that ridge. Okay, they are not a threat. I would presume the people here are very nice, but yeah, like this, I'm not carrying that because of people necessarily. Of course, that's always a possibility, but that's not really the intent. It's just there's animals out here that will eat you and or dance on you, because mooses are like that, and so that's why that's there. However, you know, my pistol, my large frame pistol, being supported by its gravity-assisted sling. I'm sorry, holster. But what I'm doing right now is doubling back and clover leafing so that I can use more distance, which equates in this environment to concealment through the sparse brush that is out here. Sparse brush over distance will create a wall of foliage that is fairly hard to see through, and it's just good practice to kind of do those things. Now, of course, I'm walking in an open danger area right now, like we just talked about, but I'm doing that because I am lazy and talking on onto my phone. So, but you know, do those things. But I really would urge you guys to get out in the woods, or out in your environments, whether that be, you know, like marine swampland, you know, swamps, the woods, the mountains, wherever it is that you believe you will be active. If you're active duty, do your best. You know, it's hard to speculate where you might be, but just get in all the environments if you don't know which one it'll be. You know, the U.S. is a pretty diverse country. We have a lot of amazing wildlands and urban centers that you can work on just being in and getting comfortable with how they work. But if you have this like fantasy, okay, the Boogaloo crowd, right? You specifically, so I'm talking to be quite frank. If you are liberty-minded, that's dope. Me too, of course. That's why I'm doing this, to be completely honest. I want more Americans to take up their responsibility to be good countrymen. And if they're going to talk about the Second Amendment, they ought to be about it, right? But if you have this, I don't want to say fantasy, but if you have this notion in your mind that you're going to go off into the woods, you're going to disappear, and you're going to, you know, do the unconventional thing, that's awesome, and that's commendable. And that's probably your best bet, to be quite frank. However, if you're not out there doing it, if you're not out there with your dudes, or trying to find dudes to train with, make it comfortable in these environments, if you think you're just gonna use concealment and cover for every movement you're ever on, and you're just gonna figure out how to maneuver together and have the discipline to stay online, or to work your drills or whatever your battle drills might be, dude, you need to get out and do it, because you're fooling yourself if you think it's just gonna happen like that. When you watch like war movies and things like that of these awesome military actions that have happened, what they don't show you, well, some of them do, but they do a piss poor job at showing you, even the directors that do their absolute best, is the months and months and months of repetition of them doing these annoying things to make these big movements happen. People don't just get dropped out of airplanes and then just random some shit up. There are years often of training that goes into making sure that unit can operate as a unit and not a bunch of scared individuals that don't know what they're doing. Hey, dog, come here. Come here. Come here. She's trying to run out into an LDA and get her ass squashed. So let's talk about that. If you are someone that for whatever reason may one day find themselves in conflict, whether that's for Constitution law enforcement, if you're active duty, if you're a civilian doing their part, if you're some person that thinks the Boogaloo's gonna pop off, which, you know, I'm not gonna talk about that right now. I do plan on talking about it in the future, but not right now. So if you're one of those people and you think the potential for conflict's there, and you just have this idea in your mind, whatever that idea is, you need to get out in the woods or out in your environment and do it, right? You need to get out there and start doing the things that you think in your mind you're going to do, because they may be feasible things for sure. Like if you think you're going to go out and do long-range engagements and reconnaissance, okay, you need to get out and train long-range engagements and reconnaissance. You need to start doing field training. And it's way harder for people that are in the civilian sector because they have full-time jobs most of the time and commitments, and all their buddies have commitments. And the reality is that it's hard to make that time, right? But you need to do it. If you're going to talk about it, you need to actually get out there and drill it. Be safe about it, of course. If you've never done this stuff before, don't go... That's another thing. Don't go right into like room clearing with a bunch of tarps put up around posts and just assume that's going to go well. Especially not if your medical training is not up to snuff, because the propensity there for an extremely grave situation to unfold is likely. So, I guess just get out there, man. Start getting out there and comfortable with the idea of maneuvering in the environment in which you're planning on operating. It's not going to just happen, right? Like, the people that you look up to weren't just born like that. There were oftentimes years worth of instruction and training and practice and discipline that went into making those individuals capable of whatever it is that made you look up to them. And that's just not in conflict. That's in sports. That's in racing. That's in business, sales, all those aspects. Like, most people don't just walk out and close $1 billion deal, you know, on their first day of the job, or go out and do anything particularly spectacular. They have to put a lot of work into it that is not sexy, so it doesn't make it onto the big screen most of the time. So when you're painting these pictures of yourself, make sure you're keeping yourself honest. You're getting out there and pushing the limitations and expectations you have to be larger and larger and more realistic, right? Because at first you're going to find out that the expectations you have are not the reality, and you need to bring those way back, right? But through prayer and work and concentration and devotion, you will get to where you think you might be. It's just not going to be a freebie. You're not just going to walk into that thing, right? Alrighty, y'all. Y'all have a blessed day. Doug with Nomadic Rifleman, because everywhere deserves good and capable riflemen. Y'all have a good one.